Miss Universe Pity Play. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. The Miss Universe competition has been taking place in Thailand. For more than 70 years, the Miss Universe competition has claimed to celebrate women's empowerment. But a bitter row has erupted after an organiser of the 2025 edition appeared to call Miss Mexico dumb, sparking a mass walkout by the contestants. At a pre-event ceremony, Nawat Itzaragrisil, a Thai businessman who co-owns the Miss Universe organisation, scolded Fatima Bosch of Mexico for not taking part in promotional activities. Well. So it kicks off at Miss Universe. Let's have a look at what went on in relation to the pre-event ceremony. Here's the footage.
Okay, Mexico, where are you? Okay? If you follow the order from your national director, you are the man. No, not about you. Not about you. Not about you.
It's not about me. It's about all the people that I represent.
I didn't give you opportunity to talk. Please keep polite for me. I still talking. Listen. I still keep talking to everybody. Why you stand up to talk to me?
Because I have a voice. I feel for everybody to talk. If you have a problem...
No, you have a voice, but you have to respect. The voice...
You are not respecting me as a woman.
What? No, why you stand up?
Because I have...
Where's the gun? Security. Stop. Keep security. ปิดประตู Stop.
You know, as a country, you have all my respect. I truly love Thailand. I respect all of you. I think that you're amazing people. But what just your director did is not respectful. He called me dumb because he had problems with the organization. And I think that's not fair because I'm here and I do everything okay. I don't mess with anyone. I just try to be kind. I'm trying to give my best. And he just shot me and he just said to me and shut up and a lot of different things. And I think that the world needs to see this because we are empowered women and this is a platform for our voice. And no one can shut our voice and no one will do that to me. And I hope that everyone at home, every woman, doesn't matter if you have a big dream, if you have a crown, if that's take away your dignity, you need to go. Thank you.
Now, at this ceremony, Mr. Nawat said that all the women representing their countries were expected to promote Thailand, the host country. He then singles out Miss Bosch, who had refused to take part in a promotional photo shoot on the advice of her management. So, as you've seen, he asks Miss Mexico, where are you? And then he basically states, if you follow your order from your national director, you are a dumbhead. So basically, she didn't take part in the promotional photo shoot on the advice from her national director, her management, and therefore he's saying, well, if you're following what your national director is telling you what to do, that makes you a dumbhead. So not particularly pleasant thing to say about somebody. Apparently, he then denied using the word dumb, but it would appear, as you've just heard from the footage, that he did use the word dumb. So already we have somebody issuing instructions, which shows a sense of entitlement. We have somebody utilising an insult, which might be because somebody's refusal to go along with what he required threatens his need for control. He also singles them out in front of everybody else, which might be a tactic of belittlement. And then, when the 25-year-old Miss Bosch attempted to object, as you've just witnessed, Mr. Nawat interrupted her, telling her to be quiet and sit down while he spoke. He stated, "I didn't give you the opportunity to talk. Keep polite for me. I'm still talking. Listen." When Miss Bosch protested that she has a voice and is not being respected as a woman, Mr. Nawat ordered security to remove her, prompting audible gasps from around the room. Around a dozen contestants then left the room in solidarity, while others stood, confused. Mr. Nawat is heard ordering them to sit down if they want to continue in the competition. Reigning tiara holder Victoria Telfig of Denmark said after walking out, "This is about women's rights. To trash another girl is beyond respectful." The Miss Universe organisation, who knew there was such a thing, has since condemned Mr. Nawat's malicious behaviour and restricted his participation in the pageant, which has gone ahead despite the row. So in the footage that you've seen, clear footage, he singles out Miss Mexico, makes reference to anybody that fails to comply with what is required and follows what their national director says. That makes them a dumbhead. Now, whilst he doesn't expressly call Miss Mexico a dumbhead, and you'll notice in the footage he tries to state, "No, I'm not you, he's talking in general terms, but it's applicable to her because she didn't follow what he wanted and went along with what the national director said, the consequence of which she would be labelled as a dumbhead. And then when she protests, he basically tells her to be quiet, and he's quite haughty with her. Now, you naturally make some allowance for the fact that he's speaking in a second language, or English might be his third language, and as a consequence of that, the usual intonation might not come through in the same way as if it was his first language, but there's no escaping the fact that he used an insult, then sought to deny that he used the insult, that he told her that she didn't have the opportunity to talk, that he was telling her basically to be quiet, he instructed her to listen, and then when she continued to protest, rather than just listen, his immediate response was then to call for security and throw her out. You heard also from Miss Bosch, who stated why she spoke out as she did in that footage. So we have a number of indicators there with regard to his behaviour in terms of he appears to respond to a potential threat to control with an insult, with invalidation, with belittlement, and then, when it appears that his control is continuing to be threatened by Miss Bosch speaking, he then seeks to have her removed, which prompts some of the contestants to walk out as a consequence of that action. He then finds himself in something of a pickle, because the world's press picks up on this. It's reported across many news outlets around the world, and that particular footage is widely circulated. Accordingly, there is amplification of his behaviour. So, what does he do by way of response? Well, I can show you.
รู้สึกท้อมันเหมือนถูกแทงตลอดเลยโดยไม่มีเหตุผลหลอกให้ผมเอาปลดใจหลังจากนั้นผมก็นอนไม่หลับแล้วตอนเช้าก็ทำกับผมอีกโดยไม่เลือกความเป็นสุภาพบุรุษเลยพอผมโทรไปก็บอกว่าจำเป็นต้องเขียนไปอย่างนั้น แล้วบอกว่าวันเนี้ยน้องจะมาขอโทษถึงเวลาเขาก็ไม่ทำอะไรตามสัญญา
Accordingly, Mr. Nawat turns up at a press conference, and as you can see from the pictures from a different angle, there were a lot of microphones in front of him. There was a considerable press pack that was assembled to hear him speak. And lo and behold, do you think he pooped himself there as he sought to squeeze out a tear? He really put some effort in to try and get those tears to flow, but they just wouldn't come, would they? No, he went for a performative dab with the handkerchief and he sought to break down. I understand that he started off speaking by explaining that he wanted to apologise. And then it was an attempt to turn on the waterworks, albeit they didn't come. So this is an individual who, as you saw earlier, was rather haughty and dismissive towards a particular contestant. And then, when she continued to protest, he opted to bring in the security. This resulted in various contestants protesting, the world's press commenting about it, and therefore his response to all of this was to appear at a press conference and then start to cry, or at least do what appears to be some representation of crying, albeit no tears were actually found. It's understood that the Thai police have been called in as a consequence of those missing tears, and that investigation is ongoing. But there's a little bit more to this tale, that later on, at the opening ceremony, he couldn't let it go in relation to Miss Mexico. Have a look at this.
By the way, it's past. Okay? Are you happy? All right. Okay.
Here, he references the earlier issue and dismisses it by explaining that it is in the past. He then turns in the direction of Miss Mexico and then asks, "Are you happy?" As if to say, "Are you pleased you've got your pound of flesh now? Is everything okay with you? I kowtow to you. Is everything okay, Miss Almighty Mexico?" And then, right, okay. So on it proceeds. So what do we see here? Well, first of all, as an individual that initially felt that he had control of the room as he stood there with a microphone, and as a co-owner, he's naturally invested in the event and its successful promotion. That makes sense. And what we then witness is that he issues an instruction, and he basically states that if you don't comply and you follow what your national director does instead, you are a dumbhead. Not a particularly sophisticated method of getting your message across, and an insult. Rather than realise that he's misspoken in that immediate moment, when Miss Mexico protests, he basically tells her to be quiet and to listen to him. And he's not prepared to listen to her, exhibiting a closed mind. Then, when she continues to protest, he calls for security. His behaviour then becomes reported on, which is problematic for him, which prompts him to make an appearance at a press conference where, as he seeks to apparently apologise, he decides the best option is to dole out a pity play. Rather than actually explain that he's at fault and that what he'd done was wrong, he attempts to turn on the waterworks to make people feel sorry for him. And as you heard in the footage, there was the expression of "ah" from some people that were assembled, which might have provided him with some sympathetic fuel. Later on, when the opening ceremony occurs, he rather haughtily turns to Miss Mexico to check everything's all right with her. This isn't done in a pleasant way, as if to say, "Is everything all right with you now?" Or he could have just carried on and not drawn attention to it. But no, it's like he won't let it go, and he has to make reference to her, as if to say, "Is everything okay with you, your most worshipfulness?" There doesn't appear to be much remorse being exhibited by the individual who, earlier, was apparently so full of contrition that he started to cry. So what are we witnessing here? Well, it certainly strikes me as manipulative behaviour, and could well be the behaviour of a narcissist. We see a response to a threat to control, the utilisation of insult, invalidation, belittlement, singling out, then a further attempt to nullify a threat to control through the utilisation of security, then a pity play, which to my mind is entirely performative. The crying is unnatural, there are no tears, it's exaggerated, and then later on we see an absence of remorse and more haughty behaviours. Is this man a narcissist? Well, as you know, we can't say for certain because we haven't looked at enough of his behaviour over a sustained period of time. One would have to do a deeper analysis in that regard to reach a conclusion that he is a narcissist. What we do see are manipulative behaviours. But remember, it's not just narcissists that are manipulative. Anybody can be manipulative. It could be that his behaviour is driven by an alternative stressor. Perhaps he's got so much money invested in the success of this that somebody failing to promote it is problematic to him, and that has resulted in this behaviour, which does demonstrate an empathy deficit. But that empathy deficit might not come from narcissism, it might instead come from an external stressor, such as he's under financial pressure as he requires the event to be successful. The alternative, of course, and it's very much on the table, that this is a narcissist who is exhibiting a range of narcissistic indicators and manipulations, and what drives this unpleasant behaviour towards Miss Mexico and the contestants as a whole is a pathological need for control and a response to perceived threats to that control, which brings out performative behaviour such as the ridiculous pity play. Definitely manipulations, definitely some essence of performativeness. Whether he's a narcissist or not, a much more detailed analysis would be required, but I would certainly say there is a case to answer, and you may well have just watched a narcissist responding to the brouhaha at Miss Universe. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments section. I'm HG Tudor. Thank you for watching.